Hello everyone, this is Wendy with Love and Stampin'. Welcome to your Saturday Storytime card making hangout. We are going to make this adorable card using the Sweet Songbirds bundle, and we're making this little pocket fold. I called it a front pocket, I called it a triangle pocket fold. Several different names for this, but anyway, we also are going to use this gorgeous new in color designer series paper, Parakeet Party and Parakeet Party cardstock. We're starting with a full sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock and scoring it at 4.25, turning it and scoring it at 5.5. So essentially you're scoring it in half both ways, long and short sides. And then we're going to fold it in half on the hot dog side, the long side. I need to zoom my camera out a little, don't I? Unfortunately, this was pre-recorded and it's too late. So then you're going to you're going to fold it in half and you're going to cut from the score line to the top edge of the card. And don't worry, I have a project sheet for you that has the full tutorial. You do not need to write any of this down. I even took extra photos for you so you would have photos. I cut that designer series paper at 4 by 5.25 and then I cut it in half on the diagonal. Now we're going to take this same sheet of cardstock and we're going to cut it in half down the middle. And now we have both pieces for our pockets. So here you will put these two base pieces together in the middle by gluing them together. And then you'll fold the pockets over after adding the designer series paper. See this? Here we go. They're going to go together. I promise it's going to happen. I'm using Stampin' Seal Plus here to adhere them, using it very generously to make sure that these stay together and glued together well. I don't want them like coming apart or the edges curling up. Stacking one on top of the other, and now we have that double triangle, and then we can add our designer series papers and glue these in place. You only want to glue the bottom, otherwise it's not a pocket and it won't work. So don't glue up the edges, okay? So let's get right into story time because it's a doozy today. I have a really good one for you. If you're brand new around here and you're not familiar with Storytime, that is where I just hang out with you, my friends, and we talk about things that are going on in my life. Think of it like vlogging, but with card making, okay? If that's not your jam, you don't like that, that's totally fine. You can feel free to move right along to a different YouTuber. There's so many bazillions of them to choose from. You certainly don't need to leave me a nasty comment letting me know why you don't like my videos. We're good. The friends that hang out here, we're perfectly happy with the way we do things. So story time today is brought to you by my nephew, Caleb. He is 17 years old and he is on the autism spectrum. And I think you're mostly familiar with that. If you're new around here, you might not know that. But usually if you are alive and you have a family of any kind, you probably know somebody in your family who's either on the spectrum, or you might have a friend who has a child or family member on the spectrum. It's not that uncommon to know somebody on the spectrum. And if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. Every person that has autism is different and their behaviors could be different and things like that. So it is technically Autism Awareness Month. Sometimes I do a fundraiser, but I chose not to this month. I just kind of had a lot of things going on and couldn't seem to get it together to do that. Now, let's talk about what happened with Caleb this week that sent me into tears. And here you guys are just going to see me putting this card together, stamping, fussy cutting. I'm using crumb cake here. I'll kind of skip back and forth while I tell you guys the story. So for Easter, my sister came over and I had many people here visiting for Easter. And she left a bowl here and I wanted to return that to her. So I called her and I said, hey, I need to return a bowl to you. Do you mind if I come by and have one of the kids run down and get it? Because she lives in a second story apartment. So I usually don't go up. Usually she sends a kid down to get whatever I need them to do. So she said, yeah, but can you come up for a minute? I thought that was a little strange. She usually doesn't invite me up because, I don't know, we just don't hang out all that often in person. Usually we talk every single day on the phone, but for whatever reason, we don't get together a lot outside of that. I don't know why. Anyway, I said, yeah, absolutely. So I ran up to deliver the bowl and I came in and I sat down and I could tell she was like a little off. And she's like, so Caleb got beat up at school today. And I immediately started crying. Because to know my nephew is to love him. He is, first of all, he's huge. He's 6'2". He's a big kid. And he's 17 years old. He is super sweet and extremely funny. Like jovial, funny, loves to joke, never serious about anything, and is very silly and quirky with his jokes too. It's not like sarcasm can be difficult for some people with autism. So sometimes he doesn't always grab sarcasm, or he'll just ask you, is that sarcastic? I've had him ask me that before. So anyway, she tells me this and I'm just beside myself because he is just the sweetest boy. I love him so much. And it really upset me. So I'm like, well, who do we need to kill? Just kidding. We don't need to kill anybody. I'm just totally joking, making a joke. Okay, here, really quick, back to the card. I've punched my birdie out, and I'm using this as a template. I put my stamps in the areas where I punched, and now I'm going to stamp right where I have my stamps already assembled, and I put those on the block according to the punch, right? So you punch yourself a template, and then you line your stamps up in that template, and then you stamp, and then all you have to do is line your punch up right over where you've stamped. Okay, back to story time. So basically the story is there's a somewhat new kid at the school that he attends, and he does attend a special school this year. However, next year I think he's going to be going mainstream, which will be super fun because my daughter and him will be in the same school for 1 year because he will be graduating high school next year. So anyway, she says, fairly new kid. Apparently my nephew and his friend were in the classroom laughing and being silly towards the end of class. This is very normal for Caleb, and he likes to make sometimes funny noises and stuff like that. It's part of his stimming. It's part of the autism. So it's just something he does. I frankly barely notice it. And then he also will laugh really silly, like a goofy laugh, an intentionally goofy laugh, right? So apparently he needed to go to the restroom, and he went to leave the classroom to go to the restroom, and this other kid stood up and clocked him right in the face, in the side of the face, and hit him so hard that Caleb said his ear was ringing for quite a while and he couldn't hear out of it. And then the child proceeded to continue to hit him with his fist in the back, in the stomach, and all of this happened within probably, I would say, less than a minute. And the teacher intervened at some point prior to Caleb's friend attempting to throw a desk at the other child to get the child to stop what he was doing. Anyway, so my sister and she had me come up because she's like, I don't know what to say to him. I don't know how to handle this. And we both talked about what's the best way to discuss this, handle this, whatever. We assumed he was going to come home very upset and needing to have some discussion about this. And the principal had informed my sister that he was very confused as to why this happened. So basically the story is that the other child, the kid, thought that Caleb and the friend were making fun of him and laughing at him, which the principal and the teacher in the classroom said, that is not the case. We know that's not the case. That's not Caleb's MO. He doesn't do that. So they knew that that wasn't what was happening. It just was perceived this way by this person. So I don't want to get into the stuff with the other kid because I wouldn't want somebody talking about my kid who had some needs or issues. So we were not going to worry anymore about that. But just suffice to say that it was definitely a misunderstanding. Okay, so and there are things that are in progress and happening due to this. So we wait for Caleb to get home, and essentially my sister and I decide we will ask him how his school day was, ask him if he wants to talk about what happened, and if he says no, we will just leave it alone. We're not going to discuss it any further because it's ultimately up to him if it's something he wants to discuss, and we don't want to pressure or force him into talking about something if he's not comfortable with it. So he gets home from school, he comes up, and I feel very nervous to see him because I don't know how badly, like I don't know if they hit his nose, if there's blood, if there's what there is. So he comes in and he has a fairly good red mark on his cheek, but no bruising. And then my sister says to him, "How was school today?" To which he responds, "Fine." And then she says, "The school called me." Now, I want you, if you're drinking a drink right now, a cup of coffee, a glass of water, I want you to set it down because my nephew, in all his glorious glory, says, "Oh, so you heard I got my bleep Will Smithed today." To which we rolled laughing. So if you don't know what happened with Will Smith and Chris Rock, you got to go look that up. Otherwise, this joke falls flat on you. But 99.9% of the world knows exactly what that meant. And we were hysterical. And so my sister says to him, "Yes, we were told, the principal called me, blah, blah, blah. Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm okay." "Do you need to talk about it? Or do you want to talk about it?" "No." "Well, yeah." And then he proceeds to tell us about the incident. And he definitely was still under some confusion as to why this happened. So it was very interesting. And we walked through just talking about it. And then it was also interesting that he was pretty upset with the staff at the school because they compared him to this kid. And when my nephew first started at this school, he was definitely disruptive and had some struggles, but he was never physically violent towards other children. So it really upset him that they compared him. They basically were trying to calm him down and say, "Remember when you started at this school, you had a lot of struggles too. And this other child that is there is pretty new." So they were trying to make him understand that, to have some grace and understanding, but at the same time, he was pretty miffed that they were putting him in the same area or the same category as this other child. And he brought up the fact, "Hey, I was 12 when I started here." So I guess that means in Caleb's mind that, or in my mind too, frankly, that, yeah, 12 years old isn't 17 years old. So anyway, that is the big story for this week. I was blown away. He is okay. His ear did quit ringing. The hearing did return. He did not have any bruising, which we thought he would based on the red mark. He had some red marks on his back that did not bruise, although he said it was sore. I have not talked to him about school this week, so I don't know how that has gone. But all in all, everything came out okay. So here's my finished card. I hope that you guys enjoyed story time this week and hanging out with me. If you need any of the products you saw, they will be available on May 3rd, which is just in a few days. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. And if you want any of the products that are available, like the white cardstock, crumb cake ink, shop loveandstampin.com. Bye-bye.